Everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. It's, what is it? It's Sunday today. Gosh, where does the week go? It's Sunday today and I'm here with a project for you. I'm going to use one of the new online exclusives. It's such a pretty stamp set called Pretty Petals. Got it right in the name. How could you go wrong? Doesn't have embellish or sentiments with it, but the flowers in this are absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks, I think, because when I first tried it, it was a little hard to figure out how the two, there is a set of leaves and stems as then the petals that fit into it. So a few little tips and tricks for you that may make it a little easier, but it's absolutely gorgeous, this bundle. And it is, like I said, one of the online exclusives that just came out beginning in November. So let's get started. Just refreshing to see if I can see comments. If you're watching me, please let me know you can hear and see me. I'm hoping that everything is okay. All right, so this is the Pretty Petals. I've got a few things here. Pretty Petals. So like I said, there are no sentiments with this. It is a distinctive stamp. So the stamping is just absolutely gorgeous. So this is the main set of leaves and stems, and then this one fits in, and then there's some extra ones that you can do some stamping with. The dies, of course, you have the one that will cut out the main image, but you can also do some stamping and cut these dies, these flowers out separately, and then all of the other ones. So there are dies for all of the stamps in the bundle. And then the other thing I just said, as I said, there are no sentiments. So I'm going to use the Everyday Greetings, which was also an online exclusive that came out a little while ago. Actually, it came out when the Everyday Greetings or Greetings of the Season with the Season of Gold and Green, I think it was called, with all the evergreen stuff in it. This was an extra stamp set that has some amazing sentiments in it for all year round. So I'm going to make a thank you card. Okay, so got my supplies here. Doing a bit of a different color combination. So Petal Pink and Petunia Pop. And then I'm going to I'm going to put some Lost Lagoon in for the leaves. So let's get these off. So hey Hazel, welcome. So my Petunia Pop is 4 1/4 by 11. So we'll score it at 5 1/2, and it's lovely, Hazel. So this is the stamp set that I'm using for the December Your Creativity Awaits kit. So if you order this kit, you get the stamp set and 6 make and takes plus the embellishments, some embellishments and ribbon and anything you need to make the cards. And so we're using this one. So there's some really pretty cards. So my Petal Pink I cut 3 3/4 by 5, and then I've got a piece of basic white that I cut, let's see, 3 1/2 by 4 3/4, so it fits on that one. And I went ahead and embossed it using the Distressed Tile embossing folder. I love this embossing folder. So that's kind of going to be my base. Kind of a pretty color combination, I think, with the Petal Pink and Petunia Pop. Okay, so let's do some stamping. Got that for the inside of the cards. Let's put that so I don't end up stamping on it. If you've watched me before, you know that's my favorite trick, is to end up stamping on my inside of my card. Okay, I'm thinking about this. Okay, I've got a piece. So one of the tricks with distinctive stamps is you want to make sure that your ink pad is not too juicy. And so I typically ink up my stamp and then I stamp off. So I'm inking this up in Lost Lagoon, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to stamp off. So you can get this gorgeous kind of really distinctive with the different depth of color in it because it is distinctive. Now, one of the tricks that I found is I find it really hard, hey Nancy, to line up this. So one of the things to note is that the flowers go what you think are upside down. So they're kind of hanging flowers. But I still find it a little bit hard to figure out where they go. So one of the tricks, and this happened completely by accident, if I can find the other die. It happened completely by accident as I was getting somewhat frustrated by trying to figure out how to stamp it, and then I thought I figured it out, and then I went to cut it out, and it wasn't working for me. So now my suggestion is, and this works because these are photopolymer stamps, is I've stamped my stems, oopsie, and I'm going to cut that out. Typically I wouldn't. I would stamp my stems and then I would stamp my flowers. But we're going to go ahead and stamp, or cut this out using the die cut, or the die for the large image. Like that. Now, what this does, now I'm going to stamp these in Petal Pink. And I'm going to stamp off. Get myself all mixed up. So I'm going to stamp off just because I want it to be, oh, it's going to be quite light. Yeah, okay, we're not going to be stamp off. So my Petal Pink ink pad is quite light. So I'm not going to stamp off on this, so I'm going to just bring that down. Now what this does is gives me some shapes to line up. And so I'm just going to take and I'm going to line up my stamp with these particular outsides. So these shapes you can see makes it really easy. But this one and those three make it really easy to line up your flowers on your stems. And so you get this, they're kind of snowdrops type of flowers because they're hanging. So I just find that rather than try and stamp your stems and leaves and then stamp your flowers, if you're going to be die cutting it, stamp it, cut it out, and then stamp your flowers on. And if you want, I often pull one of my cards out that I have used or made and use it as lining it up. So if you were just going to stamp this on a card without cutting it out using the die, then make yourself kind of the template and stamp it so that you can get it lined up and not have the issues with all of that. Just a couple of tips because I really struggled when I was making the original cards. All right, I'm going to stamp in Petunia Pop. And then I'm going to cut that out using the die. So there's a separate die and you kind of have to just twist it around. There we go. Nope, it's not. Twist it around until you get, there you go, till you get them lined up for cutting them out. So these are going to be individual little flowers. And I'm going to take my snips because it's going to be too wide to go through my little mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. So let's bring that back. So this cuts all the little tiny flowers out that will line up perfectly over top of the flowers that I cut in Petal Pink. So I'm going to have a mixture of the Petal Pink flowers and some of the Petunia Pop flowers. Don't want to lose those. Okay, so I've got my little flowers. So you can use glue dots or you can use mini dimensionals. They're not very big flowers. So I'm going to use a combination of some mini dimensionals and then some glue dots on them. I'm not going to cover up all of the flowers. And then you can just kind of go and figure out which ones you want to cover over. So they, like I said, these match exactly. So my plant's going to have the petal pink flowers and the petunia pop flowers like that. And maybe let's save those, and then where's my glue dots? I just take the little glue dot, and it's on the tip of my take your pick tool, and you just kind of roll it into a little ball like that, and then you can figure out which of those flowers like goes on top. So it's popped up a little bit, but not as much as it would be if it was a dimensional. So I'm gonna have, that's my color combination for my flowers. Okay, so I'm gonna cover those. Now let's bring in my card. So I've got that. Now I do need to stamp a sentiment, and I pulled out the thank you sentiment from that everyday greetings. So a nice script sentiment. There we go. Oh, and I guess I need something on the inside of my card. Okay, let's do this. Let's see if I can do this. I just want it in the corner. Not gonna stamp the whole thing. So I've just got part of those stems and leaves. And if I use my front of my card as my template, I can now figure out how these line up. Stamp off. Okay, and remember they go upside down. So I'm just going to kind of lay this here. And this is where it's a little tricky. So I've got these two, so I want, that's that. So this stem, okay, so I'm gonna more or less try and line this up like that. Okay, sometimes you just go for it, and it may not be completely lined up, but hopefully it's okay. So that's why I say it is much easier if you're gonna die cut it, is to get that template to lay on and use, but we're good with it. Okay, so let's start putting our card together. Got my liquid glue, which I like to use if I've embossed, because it gets into the nooks and crannies. So this bundle, just because of the flowers and the distinctive, calls out for a subtle colors to me, although I did make one that was in petunia pop and black, and it just, oh my gosh, it's very, very pretty. Okay, so I pulled out, this is the ribbon that goes with the country woods, I think it's called, suite that is in with the birdhouses and the wood grain, and I thought it would look really pretty. It is in petal pink. So I don't think I'm going to tie a bow. I think I'm just going to cut it in half like that. And then I'm going to take and use a little bit of Stampin' Seal just to hold that in place like that. I might trim it a little bit. And then some dimensionals. So I think when I first looked at this bundle, I kind of thought, well, I don't know, it's pretty, but I don't know. But when I started to actually play with it, oh my gosh, it makes some gorgeous, gorgeous cards. So I'm just going to take that and put it like that. And then we can glue this on to the card front. I love Petunia Pop. It's such a pretty color. Okay, so I'm going to do some fussy cutting. For those of you who don't like fussy cutting, you can just cut a rectangle out, but I love fussy cutting. And so make sure when you do, if you're trying and you're getting frustrated, make sure you steer with the paper. So you're steering the paper and not your scissors. So I'm using my, in this case, my left hand to kind of steer and move my scissors around. And if you practice doing that, you may find that your fussy cutting gets better and you aren't quite so frustrated by it. And don't try to be perfect. That's my other tip, is you don't have to be perfect with fussy cutting. Okay, so I'm just going to take and put that somewhere. I think down there. I was going to put it part way on the flowers, but I don't want to cover up my flowers. They're too pretty. So we're just going to use some mini dimensionals. On this. Oops. Get that backing off. Go just on the bottom like that. And then the inside of the card. And the last thing we need, of course, oopsie, is some embellishments. And I'm going to use the In Color Shimmer Gems. Oopsie, there we go. All right, like that. And so In Color Shimmer Gems, I think I have some Petunia Pop ones. Got some unopened packages here, but let's see if I have some. There we go. Petunia Pops was one of my favorite colors, so I don't actually have a lot left, so we can use, there we go. All right. There we go. So that is the Pretty Petals bundle. This one of the new online exclusives that just came out. And those everyday greetings, I'm just going to trim this a little bit like that so it's not quite so long. The everyday greetings sentiments, which were an online exclusive that came out earlier in the year when the season of green and gold came out. Lovely sentiments and a great set of sentiments for all year round. All right, you could use some Wink of Stella if you wanted to take and just put some on these flowers just to kind of give it a little bit of a shimmer. One of my tips is I always use the Wink of Stella at the end. One, because even though I stamped this a while ago, I'm finding it is, whatever this solvent is, does move the ink if it's not completely dry. And so you don't want that to happen. Well, maybe you do want that to happen. And even with this, think about how long ago I stamped that, and I still got a little bit of movement of the Petunia Pop. And also, if you get you get too much, then you can let it dry, and your card is all done. But there we go. That's the Pretty Petals bundle for the card today. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Now, this week's a little bit weird because I have things going on in the evenings. I think Wednesday night will be fine. I think we'll be back from our appointment before I have to go live, hopefully, because it's earlier in the day. So tomorrow I'm going to try and jump on about 4 o'clock and do my memory keeping Monday. And then on Tuesday, it'll again be about 4 o'clock for my sketch challenge. So mark those in your calendar. I will put a reminder in my Facebook group and page if you're part of that, that's when I'm going live for this week.